For more than on the history, look Anderson Cooper 360 on Friday at 8 p.m. ET. He sleeps on a mat in which one day was the cuisine. Over the cot, clothing hover of the rafters, love Spanish lichen of trees. The story in his old dormitory rotated to paperboard and sags love a bouncer. A opening outdoor up. Few places in the building remain dried. How since, 3 months following Storm Maria, he yet doesn't include a function rooftop. Other might include taking into account up, or excited off, but Rodriguez, a 35-year-old in childish freckles and a governor straight hairline, lived in the building as a kid. Following his dad gone off a few year back, he says, he excited behind in the is household, he doesn't wish to keep. So same save up paychecks of his portion time equipment keep job to buy ash blocks to restore. A pair half a dozen or so are folded in the courtyard. And he tested to set a tarpaulin on his their own. It doesn't do lot. Which driven me to Rodriguez's building in San Lorenzo, Puerto Rico, on December 16, is no of the. He's a amber chunk of document nailed down to the side, close the front line doorway. The law of accession shape indicates Rodriguez has attached for a professionally established tarpaulin, or dark blue rooftop, of the U.S. Troop Housing of Engineering Personnel. These complementary roofs, that are intended to recent 30 days, may not audio love lot. They can be all in position Hurricane Puerto Rico if thou behavior in sun and rain fall within yours building. Transactions Dark blue rooftop is not the just habitation program for Maria's victims, but it is one of the major ways a man love Rodriguez can defend his stuff and try to back to several likeness of normality. To classify, a household must include less than rather than 50% structure harm. Homes in metal or plain roofs, and such done out of specific, usually are unsuitable for the program since of the difficult situation of installation tarps on such structures, on to the troop housing. Still, while I trip, sames yet wait. House real for tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans, the accounting records show. While I ask Rodriguez on the amber document on the side, the perspective of a tarpaulin, he brushes off intermittent, quoting the mad significance of Maria. Other include at worst, he says. Later I show him a picture how, for him, changes all. I took the picture on December 13 in Carolina, on 20 miles polar of wherever Rodriguez lives. The picture shows a storage imbued in on 20,000 tarpaulin rollers, every presenting at low one building, love it's, out of a rooftop. Down there's else storage love the in pimp, to the southward. How one holds 40,000 tarps, on to Mike Feldman, interim roof mission statement officer for the Troop Housing of Engineering Personnel, who gave me a round of the Carolina storage. Yet just on one tertiary less than rather than 25,000 had acquired them by how day, the analyze shows. The troop housing could see at document accounting records to define how length applicants include been put on conduct, an agent representative says. But the agent rejected to say if such an evaluation has been made. Dark blue rooftop installations, on to the representative, are prioritized by position and some factors, not by the day a man attached for a tarpaulin. Ours mission statement is to set interim roofs on all acceptable structures as rapidly as probable, Patrick Lake, an agent representative, says in an electronic mail. Ours precedence is to maximize the bet of installations through the whole aisle, and provide every install meets the program quality assurance standards. The quantity of interim roofs left to be established, on in their position, is the data we use on a everyday base to driving implementation of the program. As for the chamber complete of tarps, how storage complete of roofs is testimony how we've been capable to surmount at low one portion of how problem, that was earning tarps to the aisle, says Feldman, the mission statement officer. Hard work facility in Puerto Rico, consisting dangerous structures, as well promote to the slowing, he says. We've made all we can to address each problem while we include found it and skilled it. Down there's ever things how you can do superior and as we find out on a new problem we discover each prospect to do it more than effective. It doesn't appear how way to Rodriguez, someone's yet wait for a rooftop. I'm silent, he says, looking at the picture of the storage. Same troop is extremely large, and down there are lot human beings in lot talents who aware how to job in situations love the deity would cry above the inequity. In special, I requested to aware if human beings yet were residing out of orphanage. I already knew how tens of thousands were wait for dark blue roofs in Puerto Rico. And I knew how compressing issues at the troop housing had slowed the install of tarps. The housing had said me as of December 6 how just 26% of dark blue roofs queried had been established. I didn't aware, yet, wherever the interim roofs were creature established or how length human beings were wait. In the empty, I solved to try to pursue Storm Maria's way through Puerto Rico. I requested to examination habitation facility common, not fair the dark blue rooftop program. Maria's I flew on 70 miles, via Plantago Fields and Stegosaur-ridged mountains, shack towns and crayon cities, in approximately 8 several hours on September 20. It would get me on a 1 week in a leased minibus to pursue the identical path. I set out on December 14. I would hit close roads and lowered bridges. I would see repairs creature done but as well many decades of houses love Rodriguez how were shells of their ex-selves. I would encounter a infant unborn following Maria or, after, the loved ones of a female who dead in the ramifications. I start in Jabucoa, on the southwest shore. The is wherever Maria done landslide at 6:15 m. In 155 mph winds. 3 months after, you don't include to searching difficult for problems. On the beach, I discover a household of 5 residing in a household out of a rooftop. They include a dog mentioned sneakers and 2 shabby horses. Friable tarps lid on part of the pattern, but Luis Oscar Morales Martinez, 36, and his woman remain wake all overnight while it rainfall, he says, keeping broomsticks versus the dark blue plasticity. They are humane camping poles, hard to hold water supply of spilling in the solitary dormitory wherever they all sleeping. Some rooms are outdoor to the sky completely, outgoing rainfall and tropic sun to rot and deform the toys of their son and 2 daughters, ages 9, 10 and 15. The 2 youngest include all but stopped talk since of the injury of the tempest, their dad tells me. I ask one her behalf and she motions for my feather. Jalen, she writes out of a speech. He's not lightweight, her dad says, obedient. A neighbor tells me the travel will not be lightweight, each. Law currently, he says, human beings don't include expect. I driving of the shore in the mountains. The interior design of Puerto Rico usually is the largest corrupt and low available. The valleys and inland deltas close the shore increase in knobby mount ridges. My ears priest. I go to a place noted Carretera Cerrada. Way close. Workers say to hold drive in any case. Which remnant, frequently, is a wood bone. In a cellar lives Jose Angel Gramame Ortiz, age 63. The other history of the characteristic was corrupt in the tempest, and now water supply pours downward via blank lighting sockets. Dark-colored mold grows on the walls. Gramame tells me how following residing in these facilities Sames advanced a profound trunk coughing and a reckless on his flesh. He shows me red splotches on his weapon. It itches, he says. In a bedroom, filled animals are folded on a cot. Are down their family residing there? No, he says, they excited to the mainland joint state in their mother, his child, following the tempest. His sibling and sibling-in-law excited off, too much, he says. Following the tempest, his sibling was residing in a high school bus since his neighboring household had been practically ruined, Gramame tells me, walk external and indicating at the bus sloping. Its nasal is demolished. The amber car's hue is noticeable versus the greens and browns of the nearby slope. Do you wish to go to the continent? I'm not departure to keep which I include their fare to go sometime else. Further internal, in visitorio, else amber document. the one on the household of Carmen RodrãŌ. How document, that allows workers to set a dark blue rooftop, has been down there for 2 months, she says, far much longer rather than the 2 weeks the troop housing guidance propose. He's difficult to say precisely while she queried the tarpaulin since the troop housing says its own database is insecure, and since her amber shape was not imbued out fully. Some forms I saw on the driving were so passé by sun and rainfall they'd be unreadable. Sadly, we include found how occasionally the amber forms located at a accommodation get damp, the ink bleeds and is ultimately no much longer apparent, says Lake, the agent representative. It was suggested to residents how they position in a apparent but secured region or location them in a precise plasticity binding agent hose. I at first met RodrãŌ in October. She said me later how she'd break her arm time hard to broom water supply out of her residing chamber. It was rain and black, and water supply seemed to be anywhere in her household how overnight. Raindrops rippled through the story. A throw was on her leftward hand. Her household is law on the path the storms I took through Puerto Rico. While I see her once again, on December 16, her rooftop is yet corrupt. Loved ones helping set a tarpaulin above portion of the characteristic, but water supply shiver through the story and her arm is yet in the throw. She's attached a crimson, plasticity gauntlet above her brush to try to hold the arm dried. Office work shows a physician did surgical on December 12. I'm in a lot of ache, she says, compressing a strap. She sobs disconsolately, trembling, her eyes bloodshot. She looks up. Happy Dong T overlook me. I tag them in a few posts, and they begin written behind, provided statistics on the dark blue rooftop program and tweeting the quantity, 1,888 rooftop blue, how human beings can urge to mark up for assist. I Dong T offer the interactions lot mind, before I back to see RodrãŌ. I duel behind since my recent talk in her persecuted me. How night, RodrãŌ is permanent on the stoop smoke a smoke, observer the random car fight up the cliff tilt how leads to her neighborhood. A professionally established tarpaulin sits on top of her household, a dark blue rooftop. She says it was established on December 17, the day following my trip. Lake, the troop housing representative, telephone call the synchronization of the install a fabulous overlap. RodrãŌ doesn't buy it. The transparency led them to go, following weeks of wait, she says. He's so disappointing how I had to expect so length. Since of their latency, I bring down and ruined my hand. And how's the item on orphanage, the expect really matters. Further in the mountains, in Orocavas, I encounter a household how already has a dark blue rooftop. The tarpaulin was established on a monthly back, they tell. Before later, yet, they'd been residing in a household wherever water supply dripped on them at overnight and mold inched up the walls. Carla Zayas, a 23-year-old in big tan eyes, curly wool at the temples and rose garden beaded about her cervix, was pregnant woman while the tempest strike. She gave childbirth to a zephyr-cheeked child, Sebastian, on November 18, almost 2 months following Maria barreled via. The night I halt for an interviewing, the infant is in the clinic in breath problems, on to care accounting records. He's the infant's other travel to the clinic in such issues, his household tells me. In all, they tell, he has consumable 10 days in the clinic. Carla's dad, Carmelo Zayas, says he was hospitalized for 9 days in such problems. And a 4-year-old kid in the building as well was hospitalized for 5 days in breath issues, they tell. Care accounting records do not country, particularly if the wet residing facility introduced to the disease. But Paula Skank, who directs home environments and public health programmed at the College of Connecticut, says wet and moldy environments can present really severe public health risks, consisting breath illnesses. Installation at tarpaulin may not resolve the problems, she says in an electronic mail. Water supply damaged material may as well requirement to be replaced. Infant and mom come time I'm speaking in the otherwise of the team. Carla Zayas says she afraid for her child's lifetime. Same's a infant, a really little infant, she says, or I was frightened his framework was not departure to be powerful quite to protect oneself of facility love the dark blue rooftop is pleasant, says Carmelo Zayas, but it came far too deceased. I do believe we got ill since of the intermittent. Other include not kept the facility Maria leftward. Morales says he and Paula Guzman, whose eyes are sunk and who speaks just in a whispering, could go behind in their household if just they had a rooftop, or though a tarpaulin. A amber document is tacked to the side of the building, that is fair downward the road of the orphanage. They leftward me wait, Morales says. These folks told they would go in a 1 week or couple. He's been more than rather than 1 monthly with, later. It seems love they forgotten us. Morales shows me the household, pop-up blind to let out the stink of mold. A roof fan droops love a wilted blossom. Images of Mom Mary and Jesus gaze indifferently through the chamber. I ask him wherever they'll be in 3 more than months, a year. He seems incapable to believe in such regulation. While they excited in the orphanage, he says, he mind it would be for fair a 1 week or couple. Now there start monthly 3. He wants his household to believe same's penalty. Yet I'm not okay, he tells me. Down there's anything superior rather than yours own household. Fed Disaster Control Agent Offices. Guaynaba, Puerto Rico. 2-click commanders sit me downward through a broad meeting spreadsheet of Justo Hernandez, FEMA's Vice Fed Coordinate Official there. I speak him several of which I've seen. How is it probable so lot human beings don't include there as necessary met while it comes to habitation? The isle poses distinctive challenges, Hernandez says. Some hurricanes include desolate components of Puerto Rico, he says, but Maria hit all of it. The one impacted the entire isle, fully, he says. While we're work in 3.4 millionth human beings, we're work in each municipal government hard impacted. We're work in regional public utilities. We're work in the losing of the entire communication framework in the isle and the infrastructure facilities was hard impacted later. How complicates the restoration trial? Hernandez provides a word listing of several ways FEMA is help. The agent has allocated 169,000 tarps to municipalities through Puerto Rico for personality installation, he says on December 18. House in supplement to the troop housing dark blue rooftop program. The quantity of shelters that are controlled by the Puerto Rican Division of Habitation is downward significantly, to 39, in 551 human beings residing in them, he says. Other are creature transition to better habitation. FEMA can assist pay motel billing for such moved by the tempest, consisting such who go to the continent US. Down there's though a program how would pay to go human beings down there. While we talk, no one has undertaken benefit of it, although, on to a FEMA representative. They don't wish to keep, he says. I've met human beings who do wish to keep, but who say the trial has been too hard or not clear to them, or how they were ignorant the FEMA program exists. Which on trailers? FEMA trailers are fixtures of storm answer in the joint state. Storm time of year returns in 6 months, Hernandez says. We're an isle. While you include 175 mph winds, how caravan is not departure to pull through. He as well cites rear and potential price-related problems in the shape of habitation. Trailers can be managed to stay on the continent, but there you include to put them on barges. Supplying interim trailers to Puerto Rico is departure to be, at first of all, inappropriate, he says. He's departure to be dangerous for the families since I'm setting them in damages path. And so we solve to later use some forms of aid there. I yet don't get it, I speak him. I meet human beings someone, 3 months after, are residing out of roofs, or out of continuous ones. It rain fall on them at overnight. How is the event? Thou can discover the human beings how are residing via how, he tells me, relating to dangerous facility, yet you can as well discover thousands and thousands and thousands of human beings how got their cash, how got their aid, they got their dark blue rooftop in location. They've got their own tarps in location, they went following the mayoress to ask for assist, they named FEMA and kept pin in FEMA to get the system how they ensure. I indicate, you can discover thousands of cases love how's real, but not for the most of human beings who include attached for dark blue roofs. Our analyze of Fed information would discover just on one tertiary of applicants had acquired dark blue roofs by December 18. Once again, house on 25,000 installations out of more than rather than 70,000 customer request. Such numbers path in data stipulated to us by the Troop Housing Click office space. Hernandez says several liability rests in Tempest victims. I can speak you the one item how I speak each surviving, he says. Which are you making to get property of yours position? Which are you making to help us in helping thou? Are you wait for material to occur to thou? Which is it how thou re beforehand making for oneself? Lot human beings out of appropriate orphanage, he says, are squatters. We yet include shelters outdoor, he says. So down there's no cause why they are residing in such facility. I switch several of these comments to Carmelo Zayas, the man who was hospitalized and whose infant grandchild was hospitalized following weeks of wet facility. He bristles at the proposal survivors are to accuse. I excited land and sky, he says. I've made all probable to get assist. Yet, he says, mold keeps increasing on the walls. Following I pure it comes law behind, he says. Or he's propagating. By the government storage. Carolina, Puerto Rico. Mike Feldman, of the Troop Housing, looks through how sea of 20,000 tarps and tells me how the is a mark how supplies are there and job is event in Puerto Rico. How compressing question did not sluggish downward the job of distribution tarps, Hernandez says. He says down there are quite tarps on the aisle to encounter as necessary. In the late, Venegas got a piece of the agreement, and job renewed complete tilt on December 13, says Lake, the Troop Housing representative. But the housing has alleged on 400 interim roofs per day went uninstalled for how 9 day time, so about 3,600 roofs in full. The housing was installation on 500 dark blue roofs per day in medium December. Perfect, these roofs go up the day following the tempest traffic, but as we include told lot times the standard of desolation there, the challenges to receive staff in a stance to evaluate houses, confer contracts and get such workers up to rate in regulation of installation dark blue roofs on distinctive structures has been terrible, Lake says in an electronic mail. We go on to growth the quantity of roofs established each date, and will go on to do so before each inhabitant acceptable for the interim roof has a dark blue rooftop established. The housing contractors include on 1,500 workers per day installation tarps, he says. The draft's budgeting is $200 millionth. Meantime, tens of thousands are wait for assist of the Troop Housing and other. Down there's the retired Slater in a natural invalidity. Same D love to fix his own rooftop but can't since of his thigh. Time he waits for aid. The mat upper floor has be so rich in water supply how moving it releases a virtual flooding. He sleeps in the residing chamber. Down there's no force to run the oxygen supply car he as necessary for night respiratory treatments. Later down there's the household in Barranquitas in a 5-year-old little boy. His mom's household was ruined in the tempest, and some household members were moved. They show me the little boy's Yuletide listing for Santa. I would love a bike and thing for building. At a orphanage in me, George RodrÄ, 60, says he became so suppressed following the tempest how he tested to driving his SUV off a precipice in his hometown. Same's making superior currently, he says, but his woman has carcinoma and they schedule to go to Alabama to be in household, while they discover tickets. Downward the road, Luis Rodriguez Ortiz, 47, expend his job days collecting wastewater of septic storage tank. Slight by slight, Puerto Rico will back to its old personality, he tells me. It won't be quick, but you include to hold work at it. Meantime, down there's no side on the behind of his building. In Motobis, a mom and child, ages 87 and 58, sleeping in the identical cot. They've glued a few photos to the veneer side, dark and white images of superior times. The roof drips at overnight, they tell. There amongst the thousands wait for a dark blue rooftop. Their neighbor got a, but she tells me it was just part installed. The workers told they'd be behind, she says, but how was 2 weeks up my trip, and by later they hadn't refundable. Not far of down there, a female lives in her sibling since her household doesn't include rafters, lot less than a rooftop. While I sense love I'm loser myself, Carmen Torres says, she put downward on a sofa in the just dry place in her old household and sobs. For several, it feels Maria never leftward, love the tempest is yet pummeling them day following date. Through the chamber of Torres, a watch is stopped. 3:27 I get down of the mountains in the direction the north shore wherever the eye of Storm Maria leftward the isle on the afternoon of September 20. He's a location of endpoints, love lot of Puerto Rico. The mountains offer way to fruitful valleys wherever herd wander, and wherever pharmaceutical are made. Quick food restaurants are outdoor, several homes don't include walls. In Hatillo, fair following sundown, I come at approximately the place on the map wherever Storm Maria leftward the earth and coasted in the Atlantic Sea. He's difficult to discover the bathing beach at first among the commuter stretch out tidy specific homes in symmetric driveways. It feels love San Diego. I ask directions, and a household points me downward the street and about a bending to the bathing beach. I wish to see wherever the storm's way ends. I place 2 headlamps scanner the coastline. He's 2 fishermen. They're hard to capture meal for their families. I sit in the grit to look. I believe behind on the driving, tension to think these position hurricane facility protracted in such a common way in any U.S. country, Florida to Hawaii. I believe on Sebastian, the infant unborn following the tempest, and Pilar, who dead in its ramifications, on Carmen in her break hand, and Hector save cash for ash blocks. How lot months will it get him to restore on his salary? Other include lose jobs since of Maria and include few prospects for restoring them. Puerto Rico was in finance complimentary drop, by the government in bankrupt, up the tempest. Now he's nobody's wonder which's leftward. Convention in October adopted a $36.5 trillion aid pack for nature disasters, consisting Storm Maria. But critics say the answer has been too slight to deceased. Following a nature calamity, in about 90,000 homes completely ruined, human beings are at their largest sensitive. He's the commitment of all levels by the government to act to defend them, and to provide how lives can back to several normalcy rapidly. The 3.4 millionth Americans residing in Puerto Rico include slight policy regress. The isle is a joint state. He's household to countrymen someone, in comparison with such on the continent, cannot voice in general president elections and include no vote member in convention. The is a area in confinement, no one country nor nationality. A location has been done to expect. I remain in the fisherman for an time up, eventually, a sting. One of them rests to the beach, tugs on the wood stem. He's a fight, but he tablet a minnow, big as my tibia, in the shaft of the headlight. The is a slope-finned minnow, he says. Too prickly to take. He throws it behind in the sea. I expect else time up request, how length do you remain out there fishery? As length as it conducted, they tell. Occasionally, all overnight. P.S. As of January 1, 2018, 30,580 human beings had acquired dark blue roofs in Puerto Rico, onto the U.S. troop housing click office space. Yet 45,125 applicants, consisting Hector Rodriguez, go on to expect.